is my pleasure to be here. And with my time today, I'm going to start off by saying time is a common denominator, and almost everyone is looking for the silver bullet. We want what we want, and we want it now. And the path of least resistance is the way that's going to get us there. I am being obedient, and as the founder of ACEs Matter, I've been given the gift to simplify and, in so many ways, reenact government and university research that your tax dollars have paid for. I know a little about a lot of things, and I find joy in bringing this information to the general public because they said if we don't act, we're going to die an ugly death. And I think everybody deserves to know about that. So I know a little about a lot of things, and I think I know enough to influence structural systems if we get this conversation started in some of the most marginalized zip codes that would never have the privilege to access this life-saving information. So with my time today, I'm going to go back to the basics. 4 key points. I'm about to start my timer because I forgot to start it just then, and I hope it don't go off loud at the end. But with my time today, I'm going to go back to the basics, and I'm going to do it in 4 key points, A, B, C, D. I'm going to simplify these things we call ACEs, and I'm going to do my best to convince you why they matter with these 4 key points. I'm going to throw a little bit of what y'all going to call that's common sense. Duh. You might hear me reference a scripture or two, but a lot of what I'm bringing to you is stuff that if you are a taxpaying citizen, somebody has written about it. And I've just made it super simple where a caveman can understand what I'm saying. You're going to hear a little bit of chemistry. You're going to hear a little bit of biology. I'm going to throw a little bit of psychology in there and some hard knocks. So number 1, environment is medicine. Number 2, ACEs are the elements of internal and external chaos. Childhood adversity are the elements of internal and external chaos. That's the duh, right? ACEs have just been given a fancy acronym to the stuff that we already know things need to be done about. When children are exposed to high traces of ACEs elements, they become cash cows for industries such as prison, legal and illegal pharmaceuticals, junk food manufacturers, violent entertainment recruits, and war recruits. That is what is created as a result of being exposed to so many ACEs. And I give you that information to say that in comparison to children who are raised in environments that are less chaotic, we are creating, unfortunately, when I say we, it's because my family generation is a part of the statistics. We are creating cash cows for systems who know we are coming, the ACEs are coming. And then the 4th point that I'm going to make in the slides before we watch a video is that we're all going to die one day. That's another duh. But thanks to our creator of life, we have in our possession information that could allow us to live better. Children who leave home with 6 or more adverse childhood experiences, ACEs for short, childhood trauma for a more common name. If you leave home with 6 or more of those, the science and research that our tax dollars pay for said that your life expectancy may be reduced by 20 years. So yeah, we're all going to die. We're guaranteed 3 things, but now really 4, depending on the environment that you grow up in and your culture. We're all going to live, die, and pay taxes. And for many of us, ACEs will be added to that, which means that we may die an early death or we may die a miserable death because we've been inflicted now with some of the diseases that lead us to the pharmaceutical industries, whether they're legal or legal. So in the next video, here's the good news. I want to share with you that because ACEs are coming, there are systems like I shared with you earlier that know ACEs are coming. I want you to know that there are people out there doing something about it. And in this short video clip, you're going to be exposed to a lady who went from being a Hollywood director to taking her own personal ACEs from her own privileged background. And now she's using it to help people in the prison population. So we'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. Stay tuned, watch the video, and then pay particular attention to the questions that she's asking the people in the video.
It's time now, everyone. We're going to do the compassion trauma circle. Is everyone ready to face their past with compassion? Is that a yes? Yeah. While you were growing up, during your first 18 years of life, if a parent or other adult in the household often or very often would swear at you, insult you, put you down, or humiliate you, step inside the circle. If a parent or other adult in the household often or very often pushed, grabbed, slapped, or threw something at you, step inside the circle. If a parent or other adult in the household often or very often ever hit you so hard that you had marks or were injured, step inside the circle. If you often felt that no one in your family loved you or thought you were important or special, step inside the circle. If your family lived in extreme poverty, step inside the circle. Step inside the circle. Step inside the circle. Step inside the circle.
There is no shame. There is no shame.
A prison population of traumatized adults. How are we in 2023, and how are we still having the same conversation? How much has prison form evolved since this information has been published? Childhood trauma is the gateway drug. And if time is the common denominator, that means that the silver bullet has been in and on us this whole time. I started the conversation off by saying environment matters, and that environment is medicine. And as radio signaling human beings, imagine a child under one roof exposed to these elements. Picture a child being raised in an environment where caregiver or parental mental illness welcomes them at the door the moment they arrive to Earth. Untreated ACEs leads to parents who unfortunately and many times unknowingly pass their ACEs down to children, which in turn goes back to my earlier statement, creates a cash flow system for some of the organizations that also have this same information. What you have in front of you are what children can be exposed to in their own environment under the age of 18 for those people that may be listening to this for the first time and have never heard about ACEs. Children who go home to parents or caregivers with mental illness who then also struggle with substance misuse. And maybe there's also elements of violence in the home. And maybe there's also elements of abandonment, meaning maybe they were born into a single family home. Maybe there was some sort of divorce that happened for the abandonment. Maybe the parent died. But these are all elements that lead to the development of children creating a nervous system on the inside that will not be ready for calmness once they leave home on the outside. I'm reporting the research. Elements like children seeing their parents go to jail or be arrested or be deported, that creates a chemical reaction on the inside of the body. And because we know who our creator is, we have other elements that can help our children calm their nervous system so that when they are triggered again because of something that happened in childhood, they don't make a decision that will lead them to prison. If children are going home coupled to things like sexual, emotional, and physical abuse, those are also elements that are going to cause chemical reactions on the inside of a child that they will have no control over. And usually ACEs come in pairs. And under this roof, it would be hard for a parent with mental illness to be able to provide emotional and physical availability to a child if that parent in itself never had that poured into them. So if you're looking at the ACEs, and then I'll close out by saying, pivot and imagine that child leaving home, and as they leave out the door, everything in their environment begins to mimic and add on to what their home environment looks like. We've given this a new name and we call it, that's just the culture. But the truth is that poverty, violence, crime, nutritional deserts, and discrimination are all elements that lead to creating citizens who don't believe that the environment cares about them. If you want to know your ACE score, awareness starts there. The bar is very low. Anybody can know their score. If you know your credit score, you should also know your resilience score, your ACE score. How far can you get in life without credit? Not very far. Nobody asks you about your ACE score when you go to apply for a home and a loan, but your credit score will likely tell them how your childhood evolved. So if you're interested in taking your ACE score, you can do that at acesmatter.org. 15 questions. And the bar right now, in terms of the solution, is becoming aware of it and knowing that if you have not had children, or if you have children, one way to understand why their behaviors may be the way they are is to understand what were their childhood experiences like. So we encourage everybody to start there. Having children who have lower ACE scores than us is a very low bar, but it gives us somewhere to start, and we meet people where they are. Here I go. I told you I was going to bring a little bit of science in this conversation. And if this is new to you, depending on the privilege you had going to school, we were taught that most of our body consists of stuff from stars. Remember I said something about your creator? Let's not play with our creator. If 97% of what makes me who I am consists of stardust, hence sperm cells trying to mate with the egg cells, we're sending our stardust to prison. If we are privileged enough to create these beings, why are more than half of the children that are being jailed going in with 4 more of adverse childhood experiences? And why is it that 90% of the current prison population in America have at least one of these things called adverse childhood experiences? We're sending our stardust to prisons. Here's one of them. I'm not going to go through this child's entire story. I'm going to highlight this and encourage you to go Google Aiden Fauci. A young man with a whole bunch of ACEs, whole heap of ACEs, unaddressed, right? His environment mattered. And unfortunately, this young man with his unhealed ACEs took the life of another young lady at 13 years old. And as he pled for his innocence and understanding of the jury, he was asked to write a letter, hoping that the people would have empathy for him, sympathy for him. And in his letter, there's a line that says, "And for my dad," as he apologizes to his family, "I'm sorry that he had a bad spot in his work because of me. I miss being outdoors with my dad and brothers. I miss the fun we had, like four-wheeling, paintballing, going on the long car trips. This is a child who just took somebody else's life, and all he could think about was how he disappointed his dad." Mark that down as an adverse childhood experience. And I leave you with, it is easier to build strong men than to repair broken ones. And that all behavior is a form of chemicals reacting. If you remember anything from chemistry, you'll remember that they told us that our body, our beings, the stardust that we are so creatively made from, has the opportunity to heal. And it starts with addressing our traumas. If we're adding traumas on top of stardust, stardust have one option, and that is to explode. And when it explodes, it looks like school shootings. It looks like drug misuse. It looks like domestic violence. It looks like chemicals out of control. And if communities value its children, it must cherish its parents. The message is, ACEs didn't start with you. If we go back, the one thing that our creator did leave us with is the ability to have bodies and brains that with the new elements, it can reset us back to our original factory. Here you have a funeral in the town where I grew up in, and the participants are going to the funeral of somebody who at the age of 55 died with ACEs, but they renamed it alcohol disease. I started this conversation off with everybody's guaranteed 4 things in life: life, taxes, and death, and ACEs. And in this image that you see, just since 2004, at a funeral, at least 4 more of those people have died of early deaths, 2 of which are under the age of 50. That's what ACEs looks like in our communities. This is what ACEs looks like when it's passed down from generation to generation. And this is what ACEs looks like in the media. You are the antidote to ACEs. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Cindy Stamper with ACEs Matter, and I appreciate being here with you all today. And I encourage everyone to know your ACE score, talk to your doctor, your counselor, your therapist, your school officials about ACEs and integrating this understanding so that everybody that comes in contact with children under the age of 18 have this knowledge, because this knowledge is the silver bullet.